Welcome everybody to CyberWarriorStudios. This is Security Happy Hour. It is me, Cyber Warrior. And once again, I have my co-host, which is quickly become my co-host, which is kind of odd. I did not plan on that happening. But down below me, we have the amazing Eric Bellardo, founder of Risis and the host, primary host of New Battlefields. And with us today, we have Wes Lambert, who is the principal engineer of Security Onion, and we are going to be talking all about enterprise security monitoring and Security Onion today. So if blue team, security monitoring, anything like that is your thing, this is where you want to be. So getting down to it, Wes, we were talking a little bit that before the show, so give us a little bit of background about yourself and let us know kind of where you're coming from and what got you into Security Onion and where you're at now.
Sure. So when I started in InfoSec or kind of IT in general, I worked primarily with system engineering and identity and access management. So, it was a little bit before I actually got into the network security monitoring and enterprise security monitoring space. I landed in a role with a previous employer doing kind of everything. There wasn't really an InfoSec department, so I was pretty much doing everything. And standing up Security Onion was one of those things. And I eventually was introduced to Doug Burks and started answering questions on the mailing list there for Security Onion, and eventually was asked to join the team at Security Onion Solutions. And now I work with Security Onion, helping to maintain, develop, support the platform full time. And I've been with those guys at Security Onion Solutions, Doug and everybody else, for about 4 years now, a little over 4 years. And it's been a great ride. And we mainly deal with that network security monitoring and the host-based monitoring and all that kind of aspect. So excited to be here today and talk about Security Onion and enterprise security monitoring and answer any questions that you guys have.
Yeah, definitely. And so one of the big things, yes, it's Owen. It is Security Onion, which is an open source blue team tool. It's essentially network security monitoring. It does have with OS Query a lot of your host checks and things like that. So there's a lot you can do with Security Onion. So after this show, if you haven't checked out my Security Onion videos to get a rundown, please go to Tech Tuesday. My Security Onion videos, check those out. I will be doing more. And I'm waiting for Eric to do his Wazoo video. He's slacking and needs to get it done, but he has had a lot going on, so I'll cut him a little bit of slack, but he's still slacking. But yeah, I love Security Onion, and I really want to get into this enterprise security monitoring side of it because a lot of companies don't use open source. Let's be honest. They want to, the whole premise of you get what you pay for. I kind of feel like Security Onion may get a bad rap because of that, because it is open source. It is free. But you can buy appliances, you can get support from Security Onion.
Right.
So they may not see both sides of it. They think open source free, I don't want to use it. But I kid you not, earlier today, like I told you, I went online and was like, holy shit, Security Onion actually has server appliances that you can use. So give me a little bit of rundown on what is the difference in using Security Onion in enterprise and what they offer to companies versus what us in our home use and in our personal networks use on the open source side. Is there really much difference in what is it?
Yeah. So with kind of from the enterprise side, some organizations, it's really difficult for them to get things through procurement, right? If they have to take this box and they have to get these type of specs. And then they have to go, they might have to go with their team and add an exception for this OS and it's Security and then install that and everything like that. So the appliances are really designed to make that more of a streamlined operation. And to be honest, these machines are spec'd according to whatever number of events per second maybe that you are estimated to be ingesting or the amount of traffic that you're looking to be monitoring. So we spec those according to that and rate them as such. And that's what you're getting when you're getting the appliance. You're getting pretty much the ideal spec machine. And to be honest, the actual security in itself is no different, right? So it's just really kind of that expertise as far as building out the machine, like it needs to be built out with the right with the right storage, with the right RAM and the right processors and everything like that. And and there's also the support aspect, right? So a lot of organizations require a support contract for things that they may be implementing. So that's where we also come in and kind of tie that in. So, again, security in itself is the same, whether you're using it from a community perspective or an enterprise perspective. That's just another way for us to help you get it into your environment and get it stood up.
Yeah, definitely. And I really, like I said, I did a few videos. I've done 3 videos so far on Security Onion, and I was with them way back. So I don't know if it was 2008 when Eric first started playing with Security Onion. I think I found it a little bit later, but it was still when they had their own UI, right? So they didn't have a desktop environment, or they had a desktop environment then. They don't have one pre-installed now. And I really liked what it did. Mind you, I was never one that learned Kibana the way I'm learning now. And I am. I've gone through and really learning Grafana and Kibana and all the different things Security Onion has to offer. And I think that going forward, like as a tool and what it brings to the table, I think in enterprises, it brings a lot more than what other solutions do. And that's just a personal opinion. And that's just because you have Fleet with OS Query, which is like, okay, let's bring that in. You can choose the difference between Suricata or it's escaping me now. Zeek. Yeah, you can choose between Zeek and Suricata. So, and they both have their pros and cons. So, with everything it does, do you feel, and this is, and try not to be biased, being that you work for Security Onion, but do you feel that Security Onion makes up as a SIM, because that's truly, when you're looking at it and looking at alerting and monitoring, that's what it is. Do you feel it does as well as a lot of the other like really, really pricey vendors out there, if not better?
Yeah, so I'll stop you. We like to kind of stop at the SIM thing. We don't necessarily like to call ourselves a SIM, but more of a platform for enterprise security monitoring, intrusion detection, and log management. So we're kind of careful about the 4-letter word there, but yeah, as far as features and things like that, Security Onion has a lot of different sources of data, a lot of different functionality that some of them, like even enterprise platforms, don't have, right? So some of the cooler things that we're doing, right, is taking like files that we extract from Zeek and Suricata, and we're running Yara against those with Strelka, and then we're performing file analysis on those. And you can see all of that in Kibana or in Hunt, and you can see that alongside your network data and other stuff. So
that is something that I wanted to start asking you, because one of the coolest things that you guys have grown up to is this whole internal Hunt tool.
Yeah, I love it.
That is one of the most powerful things that I do with Security Onion. So being able to do the hunts and add, the information and enrich it with the Hive and other tools. So talk to us about how you guys went from the Bros, Zeek, Suricata to enhancing that to be able to use kind of the SOC workstation is the word that they use.
It is, but it's true, because it's threat hunting. And I did a video on Hunt and actually had someone from Security Onion comment on my video, and I was so mad that it didn't show, because it was one of those things where I was looking for how I can find the data behind this file. And they actually told me in the comment, but I couldn't see the comment. And it made me really mad, because you can, there's so much enrichment to this data that, I wanted to show people, because I was going to go back and kind of add to this video, and I couldn't, because I couldn't view the comment. And I think I have a message or something from Security Onion somewhere that I got to look at. But Yeah, please explain how they got from point A to point B right now with being a threat hunting platform. A true threat hunting platform is what they are.
Yeah. So, it's always been kind of, the mantra for Security Onion, first off was to make it so you didn't have to roll your own IDS like Zeek or Suricata, right? So a lot of people are having trouble compiling that. And Doug saw a need for that, Doug Bergs, and, started building the platform and things like, other host-based data with OSEC back then, which is now Wazoo. And it kind of evolved from that. Always wanted to have that single pane of glass to see all of these events and be able to investigate and escalate to other analysts and that sort of thing. And just continually taking it a step further and just refining, whatever an analyst can do and whatever mechanisms were available and data sources were available. And that's kind of where things like Hunt came in. So, for example, Kibana wasn't necessarily, at least in the beginning, meant to be used for threat hunting, right? Wasn't really meant for security analysts, and that's kind of where the inspiration for Hunt came, because we are analysts ourselves, and we want to build a tool for analysts because we know how they think and how they operate, and we want to build what we think is best for them, and that's how all of that kind of evolves into adding in the Hive for the case management and for the additional context, right? You can add observables and then enrich that data set and go back and correlate that with the other data that you have, and that's really how just continually driving the platform is just what's relevant today and how we can continue to improve in general.
Yeah, and I really love what they do with the Hive, because I've seen case management, and mind you, I worked as a security engineer. And so I've worked with, several different platforms over the course of the years, and I've seen case management, and it's built in. So when Security Onion didn't have that, and it was more just the NIDS, HIDS type of deal, it was very, very, you didn't have cases. You still had to open like tickets or something like that. So now that they have that threat hunting and the Hive and all this, and I pointed that out, in my videos was, hey, you can escalate this. It goes to the Hive, and now you have a ticket you can work off of and put more data in and put more information in. And you can do that with all of the platforms built into Security Onion. So it was, for enterprises, I think that is a very valuable tool, because some enterprises don't put security in with their ticket management system. So like you may not have security embedded with Jira or ServiceNow or Remedy or whatever it is. So to have that is amazing. And I think that is something very valuable to Security Onion, and something that they do very well is like, hey, we offer everything these ticket things, these ticket vendors offer, only we do it in our own platform, and we do it in a way that you can just say, hey, put this here, put this here.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's really meant to be, as simple as possible for somebody to set up. I know, sometimes there may be difficulty setting it up, but it's really meant to be, you have this solution that you can go off and just run with it, right, and go from there and perform your investigations.
So Wes, we have this question from StudioSec.
Yep.
And it's to key off of that.
Yep.
What makes Security Onion not a SIM? Are there missing features, or is it just that the point of Security Onion is to be a threat hunting platform and not a SIM, but it has SIM features?
Sure. So it's not necessarily, the point is not to be a SIM. Just as far as managing expectations, a lot of people might associate a SIM with correlationary actions. So for example, we don't have jobs that run behind the scenes and correlate these things, right? You can still do that by extension with, by extending the data or taking the data that you have in Security Onion and going and enriching that and doing whatever, but we don't do that by default. So, that's just kind of an example, because there are certain definitions, I think, of what a SIM is and what a SIM can do, and we're just very careful about calling ourselves a SIM, I think.
Yeah, and I'm with that, because even with the roles you create within Suricata or Zeek or whatever, and all these things you find in the network, it's all about you developing that correlation yourself. Right. Security Onion out of the gate is not going to be an AI or ML platform. It's not what it's meant for. It's
Right.
meant to just watch your network and see what is going on behind the scenes. In Fleet, you can do queries to do things, so you can set up alerts for,
Yep.
hey, if you see this extension or you see this extension or whatever the case may be, or you see this process, but it is not meant to be AI and ML driven. It is meant to be truly, it's what we see is what you get.
Right. Well, I mean, it's not to say that we can't leverage some of that in the future, right? So, I
Right.
mean, I think there's always, that opportunity, and we actually have, kind of a starting point for machine learning that we're very careful. We try to be very careful about that and be realistic about things.
Right.
So we do
Smart.
have that in the works, but yeah, I mean, going back to the enterprise security monitoring, we have a lot of things that, not just network or host based, but the cloud and authentication data and stuff like that. So we're really trying to be enterprise focused as opposed to just network or host focused, right? So you get all of these kind of telemetry and data points that you
So
can pull.
how do you tie into the cloud? How well does Security Onion work with that? Now that we have a lot of hybrid and cloud soul focused infrastructure,
Right.
how well does Security Onion tie into that architecture of cloud monitoring and hybrid cloud monitoring and things like that?
So we leverage, it's probably not a secret, behind the scenes, we use the Elastic Stack for our backend for the metadata. And the Elastic Stack affords us the ability to use things like FileView modules. So we can watch things like AWS CloudTrail, CloudWatch stuff, Azure data, GCP data, like, VPC flow logs, stuff like that. I mean, there's tons and tons of FileView modules that allow you to bring in that data, and we can pivot across all of that data within Hunt or within Kibana. So that's one of the ways. And then we also do have a cloud AMI for AWS, and then we also you can install in Azure if you wish, or you can install in GCP if you wish.
That's awesome, because I love the fact, look, and you're talking to someone who despised the cloud for years. I did. To me, it was somebody else's computer. I very, very much despised the cloud. And I like having my hands on my own data, but at the same time, I understand the importance of it now in enterprise and in business and things like that. So it's very important. And so seeing that and knowing that Security Onion works with the cloud actually gives me something to take back and look more into, because I would love to develop a lab with Security Onion, right? That we can stand up a red team, blue team, and look at Security Onion and how it interacts with cloud environments. And I'm sure you guys do your own demos for enterprises and things like that. But there's a lot of us in cybersecurity that stand up cloud environments for testing, and we are like, how do I do this? Let me Google it. Let me figure it out. I'll get there.
And we also, we have, like, for AWS, we have, if you look, there's a Security Onion cloud repo where we have actually some Terraform configuration. So,
oh, nice.
Yeah, you can actually Terraform apply, and then it'll create a Security Onion instance, just a kind of a test instance, and then also it will configure the packet mirroring. So all of that's already configured in AWS. You can go off and test from there. So it's pretty easy to get forward and start testing.
So we got another question, and I think I know this answer because of the way it builds into VM, but I'm going to let you answer it. Can Security Onion be containerized, i.e. deployed in Kubernetes?
Sure. So not saying it can't. Right now, the architecture probably is not ideal for it. Just the way that the various services are Docker containers themselves that reside within Security Onion. So if you're, I don't know if that would be like a Docker and Docker type of thing, or Docker and KA type of thing. I'm not as familiar with Kubernetes, to be honest. But right now, we do not have support for that. But I'd be interested if anybody does get that working.
Yeah, that would be an interesting line of work for somebody to bring to Security Onion, like just a way to do it, and if they can manage to tie it all together, tie the Docker containers into a Kubernetes platform. Right. Because even though they are all containers, so if you look at the Security Onion platform, it's a bunch of containers within one OS, and to see that tie into Kubernetes, it's not that it's impossible, because it's already containerized within a single OS. So it's still possible. It's just a matter of how they do the maintenance and figure it out. So I would be curious, anybody watching this that knows Kubernetes, please, I would beg of you, to find a way to tie that together, because I think that would be amazing for enterprise to tie this all together into Kubernetes. Eric, you look like you have something to say.
Yeah. So, Wes, I'd like to I'd like you to talk a little more about the alerting feature, the alerting features that you guys have added, the native alert queues and
Mhm.
things like that, because when this started back in 2009, it really was kind of like an add-on, a little more of an IDS at the time. We didn't have
Right.
IPSs like that. So, you had to look for what you were looking. And one of the things that you guys did and support, SOC analysts, blue teams, was add these alerts. And over the years, I know with Security Onion 2, you guys have like really increased the alerting mechanism. So talk to our folks out here about the news, what's it called, native alert queues that you guys have.
Sure. So in the past, if you use Security Onion in 1604 or prior, you might have seen, or you might have used Squeal, right? So there was a Squeal client that you installed on preferably a Security Onion Analyst VM, which would be a dedicated VM that you use for analysis. And you would connect to the server and view your alerts there. Now we've really brought that into a web interface inside of SOC, which is the Security Onion console. And there's the alerts pane, which is where you view all of those alerts and kind of peruse the queue and can take actions on those and escalate those if you wish. But aside from the actual queue itself, there are other mechanisms for populating that alert queue. We've always had OSEC or Wazoo data. We've always had NIDS data. Now we have the file data. For example, if there's a Yara match from Strelka, if you have Yara rules running and it triggers on a file that it sees as potentially malicious or bad or just noteworthy, it will send you an alert in the alert queue. And then you also have Playbooks. So what Playbook does, Josh Brower did a lot of great work with this. Playbook allows you to take Sigma rules, which, if you're not familiar with Sigma, is it's basically a language, a generic language for detections in a SIEM or in a log management platform. So we're able to take those rules from the community and convert those to something that Security Onion or our version of the Elastic Stack understands, and then we can search all of our log data. So it's not just it's not just NIDS data, it's not just host data, it's anything that's inside of Elasticsearch we can go create an alert on. So you receive those alerts as well, right? Like if you're getting sysmon data from Windows event logs and things like that, you can see those types of alerts as well, like things like maybe suspected Kerber roasting or whatever. So that's kind of how it's transformed, if that suffices. Is that a good enough explanation?
Yeah, that's great. So, but you touched on a point that my ears went pink. So you said Playbooks.
Yep.
So Playbooks are now the new single pane of glass, so Playbooks.
Right.
I have not played with SO2. For our viewers, SO2 is Security Onion 2. When in the Playbooks, can you take action? Can you, with the rule sets, can you send a message to block a port or something like that?
Right. So at this point, it's not to that level. I'll tell you, I actually done some testing with Josh and actually automating some of that. So one of the things that you can do with Playbook is specify an alert or a template for the Hive, a case template. So if you want forever, like for example, if you get an alert that's generated from Playbook and that's escalated to the Hive, and it creates a case, then there's a template that matches, whatever that alert is, and you can associate certain tasks to that. So you want an analyst to go do this or do this or do this. One of the things in the future could be like run these analyzers from the Hive, right? So you want to do all this stuff and gather that contextual data. You can already do that from something like an automation platform, but it would be nice to have that tied in. So in short, we don't have that currently. But that is something that's possible in the future with Playbook.
Yeah, that would be real nice.
Yeah. So I have a question here.
Mm-hmm.
and I think we've answered it, but I'd like to get it answered for its own, as he's newer to cybersecurity and wants an understanding.
Sure.
Is Security Onion something that big companies use? And he's saying, I'm assuming I don't need it for home labs or anything, right? And again, I'm gonna let you go, Wes, as the
Sure.
Security Onion professional, and
Sure.
then me and Eric can chime in. But what's your take on this?
Yeah, absolutely. We have, tons of companies that use it. I mean, we've had companies run 10 nodes or 10 sensors. We've had companies run thousands of sensors. So, it really runs the gamut of, there's just a whole wide variety of folks that use it. And then also in home labs, right? So if you have a spare box that meets the hardware requirements, you can absolutely set it up. You can use, you can either get a tap or a switch that can perform port mirroring, right? And just feed all that to that box. So we go from home lab to complete huge enterprise with global operations. We can do it all.
Yeah, and one of the things I was going to say, it's Owen, if you, again, and I mentioned this earlier in the video, if you look at my Tech Tuesday videos of Security Onion, I did an install on my personal desktop of VM Workstation. It is very possible to run this and monitor your network and your computers from, a home lab. And it is something you want to do, truly, especially if you want to get into cybersecurity. You want to be able to know how to analyze data in packets and alerts. And it's something that if you want to do red teaming, you should know what alerts are there anyway. So you should be able to see all this traffic. So no matter what you're doing, Security Onion gives you a free capability to monitor all this data. And that is the best thing about it, is that it's free. It's open source. It's there. You can download the OVA or ISO and throw it onto VM Workstation or VirtualBox, whatever you're using, and utilize Security Onion. Or you can put it on a laptop or a desktop and use it for your personal computer, as long as you're doing it in a tap situation where you can mirror all this traffic and see it.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting, especially on the the home networks, to see like what IoT traffic's doing, right? Like things like TVs and toasters and
oh, that's crazy. So. It's crazy because it calls out. Because if you think about it, like I did not realize until I started running Security Onion that my Google devices have a app somehow. I still haven't figured it out. They tie into my computer, like my desktop. It actually says like personal adapter. It says something weird, and I'm just like, oh my god, like how did this get here? Like I did not know that Google had an app on my computer that it was actually communicating with Google with on every other device in my house. And again, it just comes down to learning and figuring these things out. But when you run things like Security Onion, especially with Fleet and just everything else there, it's amazing what Security Onion can see on your personal network.
Yeah. I mean,
the question that Dorian put.
That's an interesting one.
I know. That's why I'm like,
a Snap Labs template. Are you talking about doing like a Snap install through Ubuntu, Dorian? That would be my question.
I think there's I'm somewhat familiar with Snap Labs. I think it's like a quick kind of lab setup thing. I don't think it's necessarily through Ubuntu, but I would say I'm not sure because I haven't tried it. So
yeah, that would be interesting. I don't know much about Snap Labs. I've never heard of it. I've heard about Snap installs, like now you have APT and D package, all those other things, and now you have Snap install. And some people have issues with Snap, and some people prefer APT. So that's really interesting. And then we have another one though, from StudioSec. Is there a future goal to get it on ARM devices, or is it too beefy and to get going at all with running on Raspberry?
Yeah, potentially in the future. I'd have to say it'd be really stripped down, like probably only the collection perspective, and maybe it'd have to be very lightweight. We do run a lightweight import node option where you can import PCAPs and review those. But there are no immediate plans for ARM at the moment. I know we had set up before. I think it was an Atomic Pi, which is not ARM. but kind of a different approach there. But yeah, no immediate goals for ARM support, but we'll see what kind of fleshes out.
So I just did a quick search for Raspberry Pi and Security Onion. There are a lot of repositories, people who have made it work. So there's a Raspberry Pi Security Onion public.
Well,
there's
I'll say 1604 probably, but not 2 at the moment.
Yeah, and it's very interesting because now I have seen people stack Raspberry Pis and run version 2 because they're stacking them, right?
Yeah,
so they're able to handle what it is. But without a stack, I don't see it running on one Raspberry Pi. There's just too much there. There's too much processing required.
Yeah, again, it'd probably be something like where you're only collecting with like Zeek or Suricata, right? Yeah. And then maybe a PCAP or maybe no PCAP. It'd have to be kind of a dedicated use case kind of thing where you're just doing collection.
And Dorian put up this. It seems to be used to build out cyber ranges. Seems like having security.
That's the Snap.io.
And that's very true.
Yeah. I mean, we have blue teamers and we have red teamers use it, right? Red teamers want to know how they're being detected by a security onion, like how the guys in CCDC caught them, right, or whatever. So, I mean, it goes both ways, right? So, develop better mechanisms to get into the network. Develop better mechanisms to detect the guys that are trying to get into the network. So yeah.
And that's really what it comes down to, and it's a big thing we've talked about, in the past is to know how to break in. You have to know what people are seeing, and to know what you're seeing, you have to know how to break in. And so that is why I always say you can't really have someone be a sole blue teamer or a red teamer without knowing the opposite end of the spectrum, even in a generalized point of view, because if you truly want to know how to break into something, you should really know what the defenders are looking at. And if you truly want to defend something, you should know the tactics, tools, techniques, and everything else like that the red teamers are doing. So it helps you develop those plans of action, the playbooks, the alerts, the alarms, and everything else like that.
Right.
So that's why I always say, and it's one of the things I love about Security Onion, is you can develop any lab, stand up Security Onion, and see what people are doing. You can. And if you get these alerts, you get these alarms, you get these events, baked in, then why not use it? If you're at home building a lab and don't have some form of Security Onion or some other open source platform, you're really missing out, because now you're just breaking into things and not knowing what the logs say, what anything else says. You're just going forward to see if you can do it.
So Wes, I've got another question for you.
All right.
Are you ready? Drink a little bit.
Oh.
Okay. I love, the open source technologies. I am a major proponent of open source. One of the things that I've always loved about Security Onion is all the extras that you guys have stored in there. Things like the stenographer, Wazoo's included. What's the one that does the miner?
Network miner.
Network miner, yes.
Yeah.
So are you guys going to expand some of those, that ecosystem that's there?
So are you referring to
language? Carajo. Okay. I'm Puerto Rican, man. Come on. Hey. So are you guys going to expand the ecosystem of the other products, and how are you guys tying those with the with the playbooks?
Sure. So are you referring to adding more tools or leveraging more
that's in the future for that?
Right. So we probably got a good solid set of what we want to go forward with at the moment. There will likely be some changes here and there as far as certain functionalities, or as far as certain things are handled. But yeah, I mean, as far as the capabilities will always be, you know, the same or better for the most part, right? So I mean, I know you mentioned Network Miner, right? You can, if you want to perform investigation and, you know, download that PCAP and go further and you know, dig into it even more, that is available. We have an Analyst Tools, I guess, package basically. So you can run, I think it's SO Analyst install, and then you can install all those Analyst tools on a box and be able to have those available at your fingertips when you're performing those investigations. So no matter if those tools change, you'll always have that capability to kind of dig in further.
So one of the things that happened at work today was we were talking about some of the analysts having the capability to sandbox malware as they find you know, an email or a payload somewhere, and being able to pull that PCAP, pull that file out, and investigate it.
Right.
So how would you tell our audience how Security Onion can help us, you know, in that chain of investigation? Where
Sure.
do you see the
Sure. So there are a couple ways that you can do that currently. You know, probably for most folks, it's going to be kind of a manual process. So you would, you know, if you're investigating and you pivot to a PCAP from a relevant event, you would download the PCAP, and then, you know, you could submit that to the sandbox, or you could submit whatever files were downloaded via Strelka that were relevant, or I'm sorry, not by Strelka, by Zeek or Suricata. You could submit those to the sandbox, and then but if you wanted it for a more automated approach, you can also script a solution to gather that information. Fortunately, there's no automated approach right now to do that, but there's lots of opportunity there for automation in the future, I think.
Yeah, I'd love to see some sort of, in the Analyst Toolbox, where we have a, you know, kind of sandbox environment where we can explode the payload, see what it does, or pull it out of the stream and be able to investigate it separately. Maybe first attack, you know, check it to see if there's any Yara signatures or something, so that we know
Right.
type of malware.
So you know, kind of to touch on Yara or signatures, you know, if you had the Yara already in place with Security Onion, then Strelka would have detected that and would have already sent off the alert. So you would see that, and then you could go grab that file if you wanted to. As far as the PCAP stuff, you know, another interesting feature that Doug actually added recently was the ability from a PCAP to either highlight a selection or, you know, take the PCAP and then pivot over into CyberChef. Then you can perform actions in there in CyberChef on the data from the PCAP. So that's pretty cool. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you could do that. Yeah.
I love CyberChef. CyberChef was my go-to for reverse engineering things because, you know, there's so much. Even if you don't know what it's doing, using just that magic button.
Yeah, the magic
so
is
much
magic.
information. And a lot of people don't understand that CyberChef is amazing. But if you don't know what base 64 encoding looks like, so like you don't know that a lot of the time it ends in like equals or equals equals, throw that magic button up there. And I guarantee you, like, if it's a simple decryption, 9 times out of 10, it'll find it. Now, if it's more in depth, that's a whole different story.
Right. And that's, you know, especially for analysts, you know, you get, I'm going to say 90% probably of the folks that we deal with or that use security. And I mean, they may not have, you know, a huge security team, right? You got the one person that's doing either IT and security, or the one person security team, and, you know, they may not be privy to all the details of how to, what this looks like and what that looks like. So, you know, stuff like that really enables them to, you know, find the adversary or to find the bad guy and the bad stuff very quickly. And, you know, that other 1% or whatever, you might have to go and do that more advanced analysis. But, you know, it, for the most part, it helps those folks, and we're happy to be able to have that functionality.
Yeah, and I love, and again, I go back to, I love everything that Security Onion has started building into their platform, because it is for threat hunting and for enterprises and just everything that it offers. You know, that security monitoring, the true security monitoring of what it brings to the table is amazing. And, you know, I'd love to get with you and do more videos on it. And so me and you can, talk about it and see what would be best to go forward and kind of improve on what we've done. And that's only based on the fact that I personally would also love to know more about it. I know there's still stuff that I'm missing, and like I said, I'm still waiting for Eric to do Wazoo so I can learn about that because I've never used it before. But
it's the pretty front end.
But I am waiting on that. But no, I do. The hunt, the hunt. When I saw that for the first time, when I installed version 2, I was blown away by what it brought to the table. It truly was. And for threat hunting and for analysts and blue teamers and everybody all around, I do think this is something that even on your home computer to stand up in a in a virtual machine and install and just start sending your traffic through can go a long way to helping you develop yourself as an analyst or an engineer or whatever the case may be, because you start learning about all these different tools.
Yeah, especially especially for those who are new to the industry or new to the field, right? It's really, employers see that, and I know there's a lot of difficulties with hiring today, right? Especially for entry-level folks, and it's just another thing that you can do to help yourself in that arena, right? To be able to have that competitive edge.
Yeah, for sure.
So speaking of Wazoo, so what is the version of Wazoo and Elk that you guys have it packed with the OVA right now?
So with the ISO, we have 3.13. I'm hazy on the details. I have to check. It's honestly been a minute, but it's 3.13. something. Yeah, so there is obviously 4. We do plan on moving to 4. But as with everything, there's certain priorities and certain things that that we have to do. So we do plan on moving to 4 soon. But yeah, I think it's 3.13. I can't remember at the moment.
But if you have a separate instance of Wazoo, it doesn't matter. And then the Elk, that's kind of the challenge that I always have running all these tools is if you have a certain version of Wazoo, you don't have a certain version of Elk, you don't have a certain version of SO2.
Right.
Yikes.
Yeah. Right now, I mean, typically with Wazoo, the main thing that you want to make sure of is that the agent isn't newer than the server. That's the main thing, because if the agent has certain functionality that the server does not understand, then it's gonna be like, I don't know what you're talking about. So that's the main thing there, I think. But I completely understand where you're coming from.
So, and the documentation that you guys have. So I know it, but can you tell our audience a little more about the documentation that you guys, because for being an open source software and all this stuff, the documentation is superb.
It is spot on, and it's come leaps and bounds from where it was at. I personally love it, and it helped me do my video. I ain't gonna lie, like it is amazing. So please, Wes, elaborate.
Yeah,
I'm sure you're behind a lot of it.
Well, actually, I used to be in the past, but I actually have not done nearly as much of the documentation portion. Doug has done a large part of that, so I'll give props to Doug because he's the man anyway. But it's docs.securityonion.net, and it's basically a read the docs, and that's where we have all of the stuff for you to get started. Looking at Security Onion, seeing if you have issues or how to set it up, or if just anything at all. And then we also have the discussions at GitHub as well. So and all of that is again docs.securityonion.net.
Yeah, and it's amazing documentation, and just what you guys have, I mean, has really taken it to a new level, because you see some installation, you see some troubleshooting techniques through other places, and it's just not there. And what Security Onion offers in terms of, hey, set this up, here's the FAQs, you may have run into this issue, and they cover a lot of the different things. And I'm really, really happy with how that enables everything we have. But I do have a question here from Adrian, and this is really important. How did some of your early career IAM work, your identity and access management work help you grow your career and what you do now at Security Onion?
Sure. So I'm honestly not sure how much the IAM itself did. I think I was honestly lucky enough to kind of get into a more generic role. Not to say that IAM is not important, because it absolutely is. I mean, there's tons of stuff every day that you see with like SAML and other stuff being abused in the cloud, especially, and with like Azure and other stuff. But I think I was just lucky enough to have someone that believed in me and was confident in my abilities to take on another type of role that encompassed other duties. So I think that's kind of how that got me where I am today. Kind of down the line, and then with Security Onion Solutions, and then as far as what I do now at Security Onion or Security Onion Solutions. So being the principal engineer, I basically help to develop and maintain the platform, and then I'll also assist customers with any certain types of maybe advanced integrations. Maybe if there are certain log sources that they need help, parsing, or some other different types of integrations. That's kind of what I work with today. And then also getting the word out, either doing presentations or, talking with you guys. Just those are the kind of things that I do today. So thanks. Great question.
Yeah. And I love what, if I recall, Security Onion in and of itself did not become a company until a few years ago.
2014.
Yeah. Because I started playing with it before it was a company. It was just Security Onion. It was just, that's all it was. And so, you do some research and you're like, oh, we're Security Onion. And it's like, oh, we're Security Onion Solutions now. And I'm like, what? Do I got to pay for this? Is this still open source? Can I still use it? So it was amazing to see how far it's come. And the fact that it really did start as free open source. Hey, here's the NIDS.
Yeah.
Hey, here's the HIDS now. Hey, now slowly but surely it's become a truly monitoring solution for a lot of different aspects. And I think that with that, I would love to see more and more companies and enterprises utilize Security Onion, because I just think it has so much more to offer than what people give it credit for, because it's come so far, and it's still open source. It is still something that the community has an input in. Like, hey, you may want to add this. Hey, this doesn't work. Hey, whatever. The community still has an input, which is very important in cybersecurity.
Yeah, and as you see with the documentation that you were commenting about, a lot of the stuff that we get from GitHub discussions, issues that people have, we try to incorporate that guidance back into the documentation. For example, if Doug or myself or somebody else sees somebody that's having an issue with something, and it just wasn't documented, then we'll go back and update the documentation, make sure that's there for folks to be able to reference. And as far as just the kind of enterprise security monitoring capability, even being open source, we do, with all the different data sources and different ways that we tie the data together, we do still outperform, a lot of commercial platforms. And it's crazy to think that, I guess, but it's just how it is. And I think I'm looking forward to what comes next and what else we can do. So
tell us about because we have a lot of folks that follow our show that are early in their careers, and they want to learn a lot of stuff. So tell us about the training that Security Onion has, both on the free side, the paid side, and the events that you guys have, because you guys do a lot of stuff with B-sides. You guys do a lot of stuff, and when's the next conference?
Yeah. So, training, we have an on-demand course. It's completely free. It helps you get up and running and familiar with the platform. It's on YouTube. So feel free to check that out. Again, my colleague, Josh Brower, worked really hard on that. And it's the Security Onion Essentials course. And if you go to securityonionsolutions.com/training, it's up there. You can check that out. And then we also have on-demand training that we provide through Security Onion Solutions that you can pay for, and it's a little bit more advanced, a little bit more in-depth, things like just deploying Security Onion in production, and things like developing your detection playbook. So there's some more nuanced and kind of more specific things there that you can get into. And then there are also things like our 4-day courses or specialized courses, where if you have a team or if you want to attend a public course, we do offer those from time to time. So there are lots of training opportunities there. And I know you mentioned, B-Sides. Typically, every time that B-Sides Augusta Security Onion Conference runs in kind of in parallel, almost in sequence. So Security Onion Conference is always on that Friday before B-Sides Augusta, and that's October 1st this year. So there's still room to sign up there. If you want to sign up, it's
is that virtual?
No, it is not virtual. It's physical this year. Yeah, unfortunately, it's we are not streaming it this year, but you can sign up there if you want. There's an Eventbrite page for that.
And if you're in Georgia, do that. You need to go to Security Onion.
Yes.
You need it. You need to see it.
Yes.
Again, Wes, the training is superb. I will go through the YouTube course because I want to know more about it. It's just been all about me playing with it, figuring it out. So to go through a course and kind of give videos that I can give back in regard to what I do is amazing. And I would love to see more of your commercial courses. Unfortunately, I can't afford it, but I would love to see it eventually, and I hope others do. And if you do get to see it, please give me feedback. I'd love to be able to promote those courses. I do have a question here that is kind of going back to what we talked about earlier, and it's only because he came in a little late.
Sure.
So please, can you reiterate your cloud solutions for Security Onion and what you guys offer?
Yeah, so there's a few different ways. If you're not looking to deploy in the cloud itself, you can use things like the Azure. We have the FileBeat modules that you can use to send data to Security Onion or have it pull in data from Azure. You can pull in data from GCP, things like VPC flow logs or audit logs. Amazon, you can pull in things like CloudTrail logs, things like that, CloudWatch. And then also, if you want to deploy in Amazon, you can do that as well. There's a dancing grandma. And we have an AMI available as well. So you can use that natively in AWS and deploy that way. And then if you wish, you can also set it up in Azure. There's no great way to monitor from a network perspective, but you can use it for log management there. And then in GCP, you can also do packet mirroring and set up Security Onion there. So there's a lot of resources. We have some documentation on our docs.securityonion.net site. So feel free to check that out as well.
So I got a question about Azure because they have their log analytics workspace and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So Azure and AWS both have their own monitoring platforms, right? You've got Security Hub now with an AWS. You've got log analytics
Sentinel.
workspace.
Yeah.
And you can go back and forth. How does Security Onion and what it offers compete with those two platforms in terms of just capability? Because I think it does a lot, and I think it does a lot more. But in your opinion, how does it, instead of using log analytics workspace or Security Hub, I can do this for you? What does Security Onion bring to the table that they may not?
Right. So the first thing is if you're running multi-cloud or not just in the cloud, right? So you're getting that additional context from your entire enterprise, right? You're not just having to go log into Azure and get that data. You're seeing everything through Security Onion. So if you're also monitoring your local stuff, if you have a local data center, right, or local, infrastructure, you're monitoring that and the stuff in Azure, and you're bringing that together, right? And then another thing is going to be the detection rules that we spoke of with, with Sigma and other stuff, right? Where you can search your entire log set. That's going to include your cloud data. So if there's something strange happening from the cloud perspective, you can also apply logic from the Sigma perspective, right? I don't know what they're using over there for their detection rules, but we have the ability to have the context of all our data, and we're able to apply those flexible Sigma rules and everything else to that. So
Right, right. And that's very important because, you know, the roles come into play a lot. Sigma roles I haven't played with much, but I know they're very valuable, and I know they bring a lot to the table.
Right.
So being able to do those things is a lot. It's very important to monitoring and detection. You know, going from there, we're coming up. We're at 7:55. So prior to me going any further, I do want to say, and I do want to give a shout out to Adrian. It's his birthday, so if you're on YouTube, please say happy birthday to Adrian. The other thing is, and that's Dancing Granny is for Adrian because he wanted Dancing Granny today. The other thing is, look down below in the banner, right. Go ahead, Eric. You do it.
Hold on. Let me get Dancing Granny out of the. What do you want me to do?
Rices.
Oh, raíces.
Okay. See, there you go. That's why I said you do.
Go ahead and put the banner.
The banner's there. Do you not see it?
The streamer. I thought you were going to put a banner.
Oh, no.
All right. So for everybody, as you all know, we started a new foundation for Hispanics in cybersecurity, Latinos, Latinas, and Latinx community in the cybersecurity, and all our allies. So please go to Raíces Cyber.org on Twitter, or go to raicescyber.org at our website to learn more about us. So we're trying to grow this community. It's a community that's inclusive, that's for everybody. Doesn't matter if you are Hispanic. You don't have to be Hispanic to support Hispanics. So come see us. We're stronger together.
Very much so. And one of the things I will say is you know, we do a lot with this community, and we're trying to grow it. We're trying to grow not only Raíces, but we're trying to grow the cybersecurity community as a whole. And I think there's a lot more we can do together and work together on. And so if you are on a blue team, please consider talking to Security Onion on their GitHub repo. There's a lot of information there. I've brought issues to them that they've helped me fix and been like, hey, this is the fix for it. Just do it. But, you know, if you find a problem, please, they are very open source. They're going to fix their documentation. They're going to do all these things. So please feel free to get on, you know, the Security Onion repo on GitHub and chime in and give your feedback on what you think they may need as a future improvement or what they need to do to fix any issues. If you have a question, they'll answer. And as we head out, please, Wes, any final words on your career, on Security Onion, on whatever you can give back?
Yeah. So again, you know, as you mentioned, feel free, if you want to try out Security Onion, head over to the docs at docs.securityonion.net and give it a download and try it out. If you have any issues, please feel free to hit up the discussions page on our GitHub, and that's also available on the that information is available on the docs. And you know, if you need enterprise solutions or you need help or you need support, commercial support, feel free to reach out to us at securityonionsolutions.com. And otherwise, you know, happy hunting, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
Yeah, definitely. It's been amazing, and I'm very happy to have you here, Wes. And again, Eric, coming on, thank you once again, and thank Dancing Granny because you found her, and it is amazing. I love it.
Thank you to Dancing Granny, but also Adrian, happy birthday from all of us here at Security Happy Hour.
For sure. And look, I hope you all got a lot from this episode. And if you didn't have any questions, please put them in the comments. I will get them to Wes, or I will send you to their docs page. And, you know, make sure they get answered on GitHub or wherever it may be. Even Wes has sent me to the GitHub repo. Damn it, Wes.
Hey, go read this stuff. I'm not going to answer.
Right.
But look, understand the whole purpose to GitHub and the whole purpose to these discussions on GitHub and so other people can get the information.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
you don't want this one-on-one contact all the time.
Yeah.
You want
Thought it was
other
to
people to
save
be
your
able to see
information.
and feed this information in and get the answers to the same questions you may have.
Yep.
So even though I very much like a one-on-one person, I get the premise and I understand it, and we need to use it more often, this forum of information where everybody can have the answers and that everybody who has the same question can get those answers.
Hey, buddy, this is for Security Onion, not for GitHub. Okay, move on.
But I love you guys. Look, it's been a great show. It's been a great evening. This is Security Happy Hour. If you haven't checked out CyberWarriorStudios.com/store for this hoodie or any other hoodie and merchandise I have, please go ahead and check that out. If you have not hit the like, subscribe, hit that alarm bell to know every time we go live or drop a new video, please do. I really hope Devil Ray has some new videos coming your way as soon as he gets done replacing his floors. And as this is a podcast, please go ahead, keep downloading, share this podcast, share this YouTube video, share it with everybody, because we need to get this information out there. And as far as Raisis goes, please volunteer, please help, please subscribe. Raisis Cyber.org on Twitter, everywhere else. Look, you're going to find us. We're going to help you out. We are allies. We are all in this together, and we are one big community. And I want everybody to realize that we all need to come together as a team and as a unit. I don't know, maybe it's the veteran in me. Also, one last thing, next week, I have Bryson Bort coming on Security Happy Hour. Topic to be determined. We have not discussed that yet, so we will figure that out. But if you know Bryson Bort and you want to listen or you want to talk to him, please come to YouTube, come to Twitch, come to Facebook. We're everywhere. So, saying that, I love you guys. You've been amazing, and I will catch you all next time.